So the first thing that I wanted to talk about is your Ref Center accounts. For those of you that are brand new referees, it might not look exactly the same yet, but it will once you've completed the graduation process. Some of you might still have your signals test to do. Some of you might still have your exam to do. And even between the small-sided and the entry-level referees, it does appear slightly different. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about Ref Center. I'm going to show you some images. I realize it's kind of blurry as we go through. We're going to discuss everything. There's going to be some pictures. And then afterwards, I'm going to show you my Ref Center account, and I might pop into somebody's just to show you what it would look like for you, either today or when you get access. Your Ref Center account is your main point of contact for everything that has to do with the games, the scores, the accounting, and just this is a tool that you're going to have to get used to using every day. I'm in there. I have it in a window open in my browser pretty much 24/7, and I'm in and out of there all the time. It's where all of your game assignments goes. It's where you punch in your availability. It's how you get your games. It's how I assign them. It is sort of how we manage everything for the referees. So in Ref Center, you're going to have a bunch of different settings that you're going to need to go in and adjust. And this is how I'm going to change the way I look here. This is how we do the actual assigning games and how you guys get all of your games and get your information back to me. I deal with the sanctioned referees. I have probably about 75 referees within the club, plus all of the other district referees across the city that do games with our club. Over the course of the year, I probably have close to 130 referees that I deal with, that I know and that I see regularly. So dealing with each one of you individually can be very challenging and basically impossible. So that's one of the reasons why we have this software. See if that changes it. James Baker, perfect. The first thing you guys are going to need to do is you're going to need to set up your daily availability. What that is you're going to go into Ref Center and you're going to tell me what days you are available. I realize it looks kind of blurry here. Again, I'm not sure why. It looks fine on my screen. But we'll go in and we'll show you that you pick the days that you're available. You will be telling me what days you can go and referee. And this needs to be updated regularly. I understand that things change. Your parents might have plans. You have a soccer game that popped up that got rescheduled that you don't know about. But keeping your availability up to date is one of the most important things for me able to fill the schedule and for you guys to get games. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to go into availability, click all the days that you're available, and every single time that you make a change, you're going to have to click save or update in the bottom left-hand corner. If you don't click it, the information doesn't save. And if you change the page and come back, everything you did will be blank. Some of you have games on certain nights, so don't make yourself available for those nights. Some of you might just be free every single night of the week and they say, you know what, send me for games. I don't care. I'm happy to do games every night of the week. This is usually the first place that something goes wrong if somebody isn't getting your game assignments. So if you look in there and you see that it's all dark gray, that means there's no games, you're not available. If you see it's light gray with that blue check mark, so you can see here on this screen, the first block is Sunday, and then Monday, Wednesday, and then some weekends, I've clicked myself off as available. I will show you what my availability looks like afterwards. It's going to be pretty sparse because the start of the year is very busy for me. But this is the first one. So for everybody that has an account, you need to go in and keep this updated. Now, after you've clicked off your availability, you're going to have a whole bunch of different other settings that you need to adjust in your Ref Center. So you can see you're going to have something called districts, you're going to have leagues, you're going to have clubs, you're going to have tournaments, you're going to have the kickoff, you're going to have the fields. All of these mean different things, and without getting too confusing, they're usually pretty self-explanatory, but for your first year, you really should just be doing the Gloucester games until you sort of get your feet wet, until you've got a couple of games under your belt. And then you can go work wherever you want in the city. So my account is going to look very different than your account. Adrian, his account will look slightly different than mine. And everybody will have different availabilities. The districts, you always want to leave that one just sort of alone. The only one that just means you're part of our district. If you do happen to, let's say one of your parents lives in Toronto and you're going to be down there for a month and you want to say, well, you know what, I can referee some games while I'm down there. That's the only time you would ever change districts, or if you move. The district should never change. The leagues, is what leagues are in our district. So the different types of leagues can be like the competitive in the house league, so like the Dragons, and we used to call it ERSL. I just found out it's changed to EOSL for Eastern Ontario Soccer League. You might see a few other ones like the Winter Polar Bear League or the NCISL. The big ones that you want to have selected are EOSL and Gloucester. And again, I'll show you this after, and if you have questions, we can go over it after. For clubs, what this means is, we discussed this yesterday at the field. There are multiple clubs that you can work with. For some of you that live kind of in Orleans in the Gloucester area, we do games with OTFC, which is our neighbor. So it's Cumberland OTFC. And then if you live closer to the Internationals fields, so maybe you live kind of closer down to Hunt Club area and you want to do games with the Internationals, that's okay too. In the beginning, I recommend that you just get started with Gloucester. But once you get more comfortable, or maybe you have games that are closer to fields, or your parents live in different parts of the city, you can absolutely select other clubs. I will tell you that everything that we discussed today is the way that we do things in Gloucester. They may do things differently. So when I say, oh, you get paid this way, oh, you need to do this for game sheets, that's always going to be the same for the Hornets, so the EOSL and the Gloucester games. OTFC, we do about 95% of the same things. But if you were to say, oh, I want to go work with Internationals because they have fields close to my house, I don't know how they do things. They do some things the same, they do some things different. And if ever you want to do something with another club, I recommend finding out who the head referee from that club is, sending them an email, introduce yourself. Say, hey, my name's Jack. I'm one of the referees with Gloucester. I live really close to Hillcrest and La Cité, and I see that you have some games there. Maybe if you're looking for an extra referee, maybe I can come out and ref. Jason gave me your email address. I think that's generally the best way to do it. For any of the tournaments during the summer, and you'll see a ton of emails from different clubs around the city. We have 3 tournaments. We have the big Hornets tournaments that some of you guys know about called GIST. OSU always has big tournaments, the Internationals, Icebreaker. If you want to do any of the tournaments, you have to go in there and you have to select it. It says there won't be any this summer, but that's because I made this during COVID. When COVID, there was no tournaments. So as I'm seeing it, I need to update it. Tournaments are a great way to go out and get a bunch of quick games together. Most tournaments are organized so that you get 3 games in a row or 2 games in a row or 4 games in a row. Generally, though, they'll be assigned through somebody specifically. I do the Gloucester ones. It might be somebody named Andy for OSU. You'll get an email that says what they expect. You can email them and ask any questions, but usually everything will be done through tournaments. There's an option that says day, and when you click on it, you can say, I think it lets you pick between like early, mid, and late. Honestly, I can't tell what it does. It doesn't seem to have any impact, so I just leave it alone. Same thing for kickoff. I don't think that it really has anything to do with it, so you can play with it, you can change it. As far as I know, it's not going to affect anything, so go nuts. The most important one is the last one, which is the fields. And when we go in and I go poking around and look at it, you'll see that when you go into your account, especially as a small-sided referee or a grade 4 referee, when you're brand new, you can pick and choose every single field that Gloucester as a club uses. We don't use all of those fields for game. When you look at the drop-down list, there's probably almost 100 fields, which seems ridiculous because it is ridiculous. But some of those fields we never use. Some of them are just for practices. And some of them we do put our games on. Over the course of the summer, you'll start to see that we generally use the same groupings of fields. The ones at Potvang are always going to get used. The Hornets teams always play at the Hornets Nest. There might be occasional games at places like North Vineyard, Father Ward, Birdland, Provence. We use a lot of different fields, and the more fields that you select, the higher the chances of you getting games. I'll explain how that works after, but what I recommend is you can see that you'll have acceptable and you'll have preferred. Now, you'll have fields that might be close to your house. I live Joe Jamieson. If I turned my camera out my window, out of the back of my house, you could see Joe Jamieson Park. It's physically behind my house. So obviously, those ones I'm going to want to go to, but we also have fields in Leitrim. Leitrim is very far away from me. I don't like going there. Nobody really likes going there, but we have to cover the games. So occasionally, I may send you to fields that are farther away. The way to best manage this is put the ones that you prefer to go to under preferred, and then put the rest under acceptable. When I do the assigning, it just works out a little bit differently. I will always try to send you to your preferred field, but If I have to send somebody to fields that are in the acceptable bucket, so they're a little bit farther away, I try to make sure that I don't always send the same referees. So if I have 3 referees that one of them has to go to the game at Leitrim or Father Ward South, or a game that's a little bit farther away from their home, I'll make sure that the next time I send it to one of the other 2 referees. I try to spread it out so it's as fair as possible. I also recognize that you guys are going to be bugging and pesting your parents for a lift because you guys don't all have a car that you can just hop into and drive wherever. And I want to make sure that I'm being fair and even to your parents as well, because they're helping you out, they're helping us out, and we just want everybody to have a good experience all summer long. So once you click, as I was just saying, once you click Gloucester, there's going to be a huge menu of fields. Again, this is blurry. I will show you what it looks like on mine, and then I'll grab one of the small sided refs and show you what it looks like on theirs. When I said before, when I was talking about how there's preferred and acceptable, the preferred ones always show up first to me. So the more you select as preferred, the more likely I am to see your game. And then after that, I will see the accepted ones. I'm just going to kind of duck down a little bit. You're also going to see that some fields, like Potvin, have multiple entries. So Potvin 7 or Potvin 5 has 7 possible choices, because Potvin 5 can be used 7 different ways. We can use it as an 11-a-side field. Sometimes we put 9v9 games on it. Sometimes we split it into 2 fields. Sometimes we split it into 3 fields. Depending on how we use it, depends on how it shows up in the system, and that's just the way it's designed, unfortunately. So when you see the Potvin fields, there's literally like 17 choices or something absurd for just all the Potvin ones. Pick them all, because if you only say, oh, I can only do the Potvin Mini North, but that's not how the game is put in the system, I don't see you. This will be something that you'll see over the course of the summer. Generally, I'll send a couple of emails and I'll reach out to anybody if I see that there's a problem with it. But it was always, the more fields you put, the better. If you're not getting games, again, look in here, because that's probably why. Now we're going to talk about divisions. So when you have to go in there, you also have to tell me what divisions you can referee. Now, I know that most of you, especially for referees in your first year, it's big and scary, and I get that. I totally understand that you might want to start with the lower division games, and you might not want to do the higher division games yet. I understand that, and that's cool, and I'm never going to put you out to a game that I don't think that you're capable of doing. I'm never going to say, hey, brand new first year referee, Jack, I'm not going to send you out to referee the U15 boys games because A, you're not at level, but I'm not going to put you there because that's not a game that I think you're capable of doing. The flip side is, if I have if Adrian, who is the same age as me, he's an adult, he can ref any games, he's been refereeing for years. If he goes in there and he says, well, I only want to do U12 and below, well, that's not really helpful, because I need him to do the older age groups so that I can give the younger referees the games that are more applicable to them. So don't just go in and say, I only want to be an AR for the U10 games, because that's not possible. You always want to make it more available. So for anything that is a 9v9 or a 7v7 game, so all of you small-sided refs, never put AR only, because you'll never be an AR. It won't happen. So you have to make sure that you select the column that says referee or AR. For the older age groups, so the U14s and up, we try to assign a referee and 2 assistant referees for every game, but you need to put ref or AR for me to be able to see you. That's just the way it's designed. And again, if there's any problems with that, let me know, and I'm happy to answer any questions. So we're talking about ref center settings and the games and the way that the assignments work. This is going to be a big question that a lot of you are going to have, and if you want to ask me again later, totally cool, happy to answer it. You set up your availability, and then once the schedule gets sorted out on my end, and we're still working out a few little kinks, I try to assign the games up to 2 weeks ahead of time, pretty much all the time. Now, I do this for 2 reasons, because if I assign them too far ahead, you guys don't know what your schedule is. And if I leave it too late, I'm asking you guys to do last minute games, and you're bugging your parents to drive you out to the fields. So I try to have everything filled in 7 to 14 days away. When I do all of my assignments, I generally sit down and I'll do a whole bunch at once. Every time I plunk you into a game and I say, hey, Eric, I would like you to go referee a U10 boys game at Birdland Park. So I'm going to see it. I'm going to see your name is available. I'm going to see your fields is good. I'm going to go say, yeah, plunk, I want Eric to go get this game. Once I've assigned you a game, you get an email. and the email will go to the email address that you have set up in your profile, and it will say that you have a game assignment pending in your Ref Center account. Now you have to log in and you have to accept it. I will show you what that sort of looks like on my end, and then we'll actually see a game assignment. Some of you have already seen them. You need to let me know within 48 hours when I send it. If after 3 days I don't have an answer, I'm going to go in and I'm going to decline the game because I need to get my schedule filled and I need to know who's going to go where. If you decline a game because you don't want to do it, you don't like the field or something like that, you cannot take another game. Once you decline, it blocks off your availability for the day. What this is designed to stop is, back in the day, we used to have people that would pick and choose what games they wanted. So they would just decline games until they got one that they liked. Now the system doesn't let you do that. It says you can either take this game or get nothing. If you have to decline a game every now and then, that's okay. I understand that you guys have a life and you may not have your schedule up to date 100% of the time. But if you guys keep declining games over and over and over again, and I see it as a pattern, I might reach out to chat with you and you might not get any more games, right? I need to assign games to people that I know are going to take them. So I've sent the game, you've got the email, you've gone into Ref Center, you said, yep, click it, I'm good. The next step is you go ref your game. We'll talk about that a little bit afterwards and some of the things that you need to know, but you're going to go ref your game and then you're going to come back home and you're going to give yourself a high five and you're going to thank your parents for driving you back and forth, and they're going to tell you that there's a 10% driving tax, and then you're going to tell them that Jason said no, they don't have to pay it, the money is all theirs. After you're done every single game, you then have a report to fill in. Now, a report sounds like a big scary thing for school, but it really is just, you have to punch in to Ref Center what the score was, what happened during your game. 99% of the time, it's just going and putting the score for your game into Ref Center, and it'll be very obvious. You'll see a little box that says you have a score to enter. You're going to click it. You're going to put in the score for each team. If you showed any yellow or red cards for when you get older, you're going to put it in there as well, and then it will ask you who got the cards. You'll have your game sheet, so you're going to know who got the cards, and you can put in all that information. Eventually, and we're hoping that we should have this set up this summer, but I'm not 100% sure if it'll work. You're going to actually be able to put your game sheets in the system. So when you do competitive games, so if you do a Hornets game, you can actually take your game sheets from the game and then take a picture with your phone and scan it and send it in right away. With the Dragons, I'm hoping that that's going to be built in, but we'll see. Otherwise, you're going to need to keep your game sheets and bring them into the office. That's just the way it sort of works. And then once your game report is done, you click submit, goes off into space, and then we're all good. If you don't submit your game reports, eventually Ref Center will lock you out. What lock you out means, it means you can't accept or decline any games. You can't punch in any scores. You can't change your availability. You won't be able to do really anything until you put in your game scores. And chances are, if we see that there's a game still pending, we'll come in and we'll say, hey, you got a game. What was the score? Please punch it in. Now, what's the next slide? Next. That's sort of everything Ref Center. I'll show you what mine looks like after, once we get through the rest of the slides here. So here's the contact information. I actually just realized that email address is no good anymore. The Hornets changed it. Whoops, got ahead of myself. Basically, it's headreferee@ogschhornets.ca now. They finally changed it. But I also have my Dragon Soccer one. Either way, you've seen my email 200 times already. You're going to see it 200 more. It's in the bottom of every email I send you. That's also my personal cell phone. So that's the cell phone that I have in my pocket all day. That cell phone number, I am totally happy with you texting me or asking me questions if you use WhatsApp or just an SMS. I'm okay with it, but I might not answer you right away because I have another job too. This isn't the thing that I do full time. Also, let me know who you are, because if you just send me a text and said, hey, Jason, what field am I on tonight? I'm going to say, I don't know, because I schedule like 30 different fields across the city and I have no idea who you are. So say, hey, it's Jack Mason. Usually I start saving numbers as you guys text me. And if you have a question, I'm happy to answer it, but don't expect an answer maybe until a couple hours if I'm out on a field or something. If you can't get a hold of me and there's a problem, you have to call the Dragons office. There's two people at the office who work there. There's one named Curry and there's one named Maddie. Maddie is sort of our summer student. She's our co-coordinator. She helps manage things, and she's the one that's there in the afternoon and the evening. She'll be there 2 till 7 every day. Curry's there in the morning. If you email them, they'll get back to you or they'll reach out to me. That's also the phone number. This is perfect. information. If you have a game late at night and your parents got an offender bender because somebody went through a stop sign, you can't get to your game on time because you don't have a ride, and you can't get a hold of me, you have to call them. You have to let them know. So if there's any problems or any emergencies and you can't get Jason, then you call the Dragons office. They'll be happy to help you, solve you any problems. You can use the phone or you can use the email address. Either way, it'll go to the same people. Next. So this, again, I thought I updated the slideshow, but I guess I didn't save it, so that's my bad. So we also have a Dragons handbook that's on the website. So when you go to the Gloucester Dragons website and you click on referees, you'll see that there's a link to a handbook. Inside there is a massive handbook that has pretty much all of the information and all of the questions that you could possibly ask. If you can't find it in there, ask either the referees at dragonsoccer.ca or me, and we'll answer it for you, but almost everything is in there. Now, there's going to be some stuff in there that we talk about at your clinics, at your field session, and then there's going to be some other stuff that's in there that is specific for us. So some of the stuff that is specific for us in Gloucester is that we have different rules for thunder and lightning is a big one. So you may have talked about it in your referee clinic where they have the 30-minute rule. So if you hear thunder or you see lightning, you have to pause the game for 30 minutes and then resume the game when it's safe to do so and try and play. For Gloucester Dragons games, we don't have any lights at any of our fields. So if we're making you wait for half an hour, the game's probably not going to get much more time in. And the parents don't really want to stick around because if you have to wait 30 minutes and then the thunder and lightning happens again, it extends another 30 minutes. So we just abandon the game. And that's communicated to all the coaches, to all the parents. It's in our policies. And typically when there's big storms that we're rolling in, we warn people. Same thing if we have a heat advisory. So some of those games in July and August, when it gets stinking hot, and it's actually not really safe to go out and play because it's 45 degrees outside and we don't want you guys running around in the heat in the summer, we will always send a notification by 3 p.m. that day. The Dragons, we have a group chat, we talk about it, and somebody will consult it. We have sort of rules that we check in. And if the games get canceled, we'll email you guys, we'll tell you, we'll warn you. There'll be stuff on Twitter, there'll be an email, and we'll pull the games. But that's one of the policies that we have, and it's also outlined in our Dragons handbook, or our rule book, rather, handbook. Here it says retreat line not in effect for 7v7. That's no longer accurate. We are going to be using the retreat line. And we'll talk about the retreat line a little bit at the end because it's something that I just want to quickly communicate to all of you because it's something that we hear about every single year. We want to make sure we do it right. Talking about some of the other Dragons specific stuff and the way that game sheets and stuff are going to work for your games is that we have at every game you do, you have to have a game sheet. Now, the Hornets and the competitive leagues will have fancy printed out ones that look like they come from a system. And after the game, you need to fill it out, sign it, and then send it into the district office. And we'll talk about that a little bit at the end. But for the Gloucester Dragons, we still need game sheets. On our website, you'll actually see a place where you can go get the PDF version of the game sheets. And the coaches, they're told about it at the start of the year, and our age group directors are super good reminding them. But a lot of our coaches are new, or they're helping out, or maybe they haven't done it before, and they forget. What I very much recommend is that you print out some of the game sheets and you keep them in your bag. I have some in my soccer bags, all of them for when I do Dragons games and when I do competitive games. I keep a fillable exhibition game sheet. You cannot start the game unless you have game sheets. We need them. We talked about this at the clinic where you kind of walk around and you might go and just talk to different coaches. Luke, we will get to that at the end because that is a good question. It's in the handbook, but we'll talk about it. There's a whole slide on paychecks here. Yeah, no problem. So you need to get your game sheets. You need to get them signed. If the Dragons ones, they'll usually just look like the coaches fill it in themselves at the day of the game, and that's okay. But we do need to have one, and that's for insurance purposes, or if something goes wrong in the field, we need to know who's there. If somebody got really, really hurt, they fell and they broke their leg. There was a fight at the field. You know, when the older kids, sometimes they make bad decisions, just like adult soccer leagues, and we need to know who is at the field, and that's what we use the game sheets for. If you want to get the coaches to sign up before the game, that's okay. Sometimes they want to sign it after the game. Either way, it doesn't really matter. You just need to make sure that you get one. Hopefully there's not too much confusion on that. The biggest thing is you need to make sure that you have some, and we need to get them back to the office. The way we're doing it right now, and the way we've done it in the past, is just hold on to your game sheets, just keep them with you, keep them in sort of a duotang or just a big clip. And then at the end of each month, when we start getting ready for payroll, I will send out an email and says, okay, guys, you can get your game sheets and you can bring them into the Dragons office. And then we kind of take them, we'll put them aside. Hopefully we'll be able to use Ref Center, like I said about earlier, where you can actually just take a picture and send it in. But we have a few other quirks with Ref Center that we need to fix first. But hopefully it'll be easy because we need to know the game sheets also to help you guys get paid. This is one of the ways that you can prove that you're at the game. And we know that you were there and yada, yada, yada. So since we're asking about how often we get paid, we'll also talk about that quickly now. Right now, this is the new Dragons, Gloucester Dragons rates of pay for all of your games. I have to make a little bit of adjustments because our divisions don't actually quite line up anymore. We have divisions that are U13 only and then U14, 15, but this will be very close. It'll be updated in the handbook probably in the next couple of days, or you can go on to the district website, so the ERSL website or the EOSL website, and on there you'll see referees, and then you'll be able to go and look at what the games are paid at. We don't actually control these anymore. It's now controlled by the district and the province, so the game rates should all be the same, hopefully. The Hornets games pay a little bit more because they're competitive games, and as you get older, the higher levels, the games pay a little bit higher. But I will say for the Dragons rates, we've always paid the highest rate. We've always paid the maximum that we're supposed to. Some of the other clubs might pay less. I think it's stinky. But this is what you should look like for all of your games. So the lowest you'll ever get paid to go out for a game is almost $30. You get paid $27, even for the U8s. And for those of you that have done them, you know, it's basically just herding cats and starting and stopping and making sure that you know that the substitutions are happening the way they're supposed to. Now, as far as paychecks, how often we get paid? The way that we do it is we do a paid run at the end of every month. May doesn't count because May is too short. So May and June go together, and then we'll do a pay at the end of June, a pay at the end of July, a pay at the end of August. And then for fall soccer, depending on how busy it is and what the schedule looks like, we might do one in September, or we might just wait until the end. For your paychecks, there's going to be two different ones. The Dragons and the Hornets are actually two entirely different clubs now. They're not really connected outside of me working for both of them. So if you do Hornets games, they'll be paid by the Hornets. If you do Dragons games, they'll be paid by the Dragons. If you do games for another club, they'll be paid by another club. For your Dragons games, when it gets close to the end of the month, like I said, I'll send out that email. It says, okay, guys, we're getting close to the end of the month. We need your game sheets. So you're going to go and drop your game sheets off at the office, or you can drop them off when your checks are ready. I will send a big honking spreadsheet to Curry and Maddie at the Dragons office. They'll take all of the information that I send them that has all of the games that need to be paid, and then they will get checks cut, which means they'll get checks made for you guys. And then somebody has to go into the office and sign them, and then somebody else has to go in the office and sign them. And then once they're all ready, either her or I will send an email that says, okay, guys, your checks are ready for pickup at the Dragons office. You can bring your game sheets then, but we don't generally give you your check until we've got the game sheets back. This will happen 3 times over the course of the year, 4 if we need to do more. For the Hornets, they've recently changed. It's changed like 3 times over the last 3 years. I'm hoping that we keep it the same as last year. At the end of the month, I will send you, we'll get to that after, Luke. For the Hornets, their paychecks take a little bit longer because I have to send them a big list of all the referees. It then will go to their accountant. And the plan for this year is that the check should actually just get mailed directly to your house. That's something that the Hornets are doing because of just the way their system is built. So it will get mailed to the address that you have in your Ref Center profile. So if your Ref Center profile is the house that you lived in 2 years ago and you didn't update it and you've moved, well, it's going to get mailed to that old house, which is not helpful. So make sure that your Ref Center address is up to date. Down at the bottom, where I'm kind of in the way of, it says the checks will not be mailed out. That's for the Dragons. If you cannot make it to the Dragons office, that's okay. send me or Curry an email. We could find another arrangement, or maybe we could just mail it out. But the way that our system is built, we can't afford to mail everybody out all the time. As far as the Dragons office, for those of you that are referees or have played, all the Potvin fields, so that big chunk of fields where Potvin is, it's actually right beside it. Yeah, Michelle just put it into the address. It's 5510 Kanatech Road. So it's right beside all the Potvin fields. During the summer, there is office hours right until 7. So when your check's ready, if you can't make it during the day because it's too far to bike or anything like that, that's totally fine. It is open late in the day. The Hornets office is at the Hornets Nest in the building that's between all the fields, but hopefully we won't have to worry about that. Hopefully the checks will just get blasted out to your house. Now, as far as just some other little odds and ends, the big thing that I've said a couple of times, and I'm going to say 18 more times over the next 2 weeks, is you need to set up your availability. I have a whole bunch of games this week, and I have games tomorrow that I don't have refs for, because when I look in the system, most of the referees aren't set up yet. I'm hoping to get this sorted out soon so I can get all of our games filled up and all the coaches and parents and referees happy. Like I said, the games will be assigned about 2 weeks out. If you need to drop a game, that's fine. Up until 3 days before, you can actually just drop it on your own. There's a way that you can go in your schedule where you can see the games. You could say decline and it'll just delete it, and that's okay. It gives me enough time to fill it. If it's less than 3 days out, you cannot. You have to contact me and say, hey, Jason, I can't do this game because X, right? Oh, excuse me. And again, if your games aren't closed out, you're not going to be able to accept or decline or change anything. I also have a note here that the badges are at the office. They changed that because, so if you should have gotten a badge at your clinic. If you do need another badge, I can get some and bring them to the office, but they're $5 each because they cost us $5 each. Even if I want a new one, it's $5 unless I can steal it from somebody. Before we move into my Ref Center account, I show you what Ref Center looks like. Does anybody have any questions at all? And if you do, you can put your hand up. You can unmute yourself and ask. You can put it in the chat. Is it mandatory to wear the badge when reffing? Yes. Your badge is part of your uniform. So your uniform as a referee is your referee top. So the jerseys that you got either with Osmond at the clinic, or some of you got some from the Dragons office. We have a couple left. Your shorts and your socks. Your shorts should be black or the really dark blue. Your socks should be the same, black or really dark blue. They should be pulled up. I don't want to see, if I see ankles out there, I will stop, I will pull over, and I will honk at you. We have one referee who is not in here, and I'm going to poke fun at him because I've been doing it for years. His name is Cameron Hutchinson, and he would always leave his socks drop down around his ankles to the point where if I drove by a field and I saw him with his socks down, I'd honk on my motorcycle or I'd honk in my car, and he'd usually see me and he'd pull his socks up and he'd wave, and then he'd tell me to text later and say sorry. So it is part of your uniform. You only get one badge. So what I recommended to people that were at the clinic and anybody who's here, go buy some Velcro that you can get at Walmart. Well, Leo Parsons / Suzanne Cooper, I can go have a look and we can proxy it and we can have a quick check to see what's going on there. But yeah, so your badge, I recommend getting Velcro. You put the soft side on your jersey because it's going to go in the washing machine. It'll catch on everything. And you put the hook side, so the scratchy side, on your badge. So all of my ref jerseys have just like a Velcro patch, and I only have one badge that I just stick on whatever shirt I'm wearing. That way you can wear different ref kits, but you only have the one badge. How do you get access to the Dragons Handbook? It is in the Gloucester Dragons website. So I will just quickly go there. I will throw it in the chat, and then you will have a link. So this is the Gloucester Dragons website. And then the referee handbook. So when you go there, you're going to see different information. If you go under more information, you're going to see a tab for referees. Oh, I lied. The referee. Curry hasn't linked the referee's handbook yet. So it's not on there, but it will be soon, which gives me a chance to fix the last little update. So when you click on, didn't save, Gloucester Dragons and About Us, and then referees, you can see on the right-hand side of this link that is now in the chat, you'll be able to see referee handbook coming soon. So I'll try and get that done this week. The next question on there was, does it matter what cleats you should wear? They should be black. I'm not going to make you guys go get new cleats just to referee, but they should be black, just because it's part of the uniform. And when you start doing competitive and higher level games, you look a lot more professional when you have black cleats. If you see a referee that has hot pink cleats and somebody that has black cleats, the one that has the black cleats generally looks more professional. But honestly, if you're just doing Dragons games, wear what you have. I don't need you to go buy a new pair of shoes. But if you plan to continue and do more competitive games, work up the ranks, then it would be recommended to get black ones. But for now, whatever you have is okay. If you didn't get referee shirts, how do we get them? So there's a few options. I can send out the information for a gentleman named Osman, who is how we get our ref kits, or we used to. We don't keep as much stock at the Dragons office right now, just because for the last couple of years with COVID, we haven't had a bunch of stuff in there. So we do have a couple left over at the Dragons office. So if you just need 1 or 2 pieces, you can send them an email and ask, or send me an email. We'll see what we have around. Otherwise, you'd have to reach out to a gentleman named Osman. It's $100. You get the full kit, everything you could possibly need, or you could buy them online. I use a website called heyref.ca. And I will throw the link in there, but I will also admit that this is like the full price, real Adidas expensive ones. Honestly, you can find them on Amazon as well. You can find a lot of different places, but you just want to make sure that it's a proper referee shirt with black shoes, or sorry, black shorts and black socks. If you want to send me an email later, Locke, I can send you some other resources, or maybe I can see what we have at the Dragons office to get you sorted out. The last one is just about the leagues, being New Gloucester and only the EOSL. So we'll have that quick chat now. If there's any other questions, throw it in the chat. Otherwise, I'm going to stop sharing this, and we're going to go look at my Ref Center account. So I'm going to stop sharing there, and we're going to share. It's going very slow. I'm not used to having this many people in a meeting. All right, is everybody able to see a Ref Center window? And by everybody, I mean anybody. Should take a second. I can see it working. There we go. Excellent. Okay. So this is my Ref Center account. Oh, I can see that for us. Pop back up for you guys here. Ta-da. All right. So this is my Ref Center account. And if you are an adult referee, or when you get into the district pool, it will look closer like this. So I'm going to show you mine, and then we'll go look at one of the small-sided referees. So whenever you log in, the first thing you're going to see is this sort of landing page, this home page. This home page is where you are going to see just sort of a few pieces of information. The first thing I always recommend that you do is under your preferences, under your home page settings, you can show 1 week or 2 weeks. I always show 2 weeks just because I find that 1 week doesn't really show much of anything, and I like more information rather than less. And then you're going to see here, I already have a game assigned for next weekend, so I can see my next game, and it's an OPDL game on Millennium Turf as a referee. And you can see here, it shows unavailable already, and that's just because I'm trying to protect my time. But you need to go in and set your settings so you get games. So the first one is availability. Here you can see my May availability was almost nothing. I pretty much only had a couple of weekends that I was free, and pretty much nothing during the week. You can tell because I put the check marks in the days that I was free. The ones that turned green are when I had games. This X was, I tested one, and it was where I declined a game. So I'm now unavailable. And then when you go look at June, I haven't done anything yet, but I really need to. So generally what you do is you just sort of go and click on, I'm just going to say, okay, let's say I'm free for every single Saturday in the month. So I click them all off and then I click update. Clicking update is what saves it. If you don't click update, it will not save it. And then you're going to be really frustrated when you don't understand why you don't have any games. After that, for me, I know that I'm going to go look in my different districts. I only really want the district that I'm in, so I'm not going to change it because it already put me into the district that I live in. When I go look at leagues, again, you can see there's a whole bunch of different leagues. And you're right, even for mine, they got rid of Gloucester. That's interesting. So that's a good question now. Maybe this is why I can't see you guys for games. I'm gonna have to reach out to the person who manages Ref Center and ask why. Because Gloucester should appear under the leagues so that we can assign the games. If Gloucester can't be selected, then you guys can't select the games, and that's a Jason problem, not a you guys problem. But under leagues, Gloucester should appear. You can see here, there's Eastern Ontario Soccer League. So that's the EOSL. So that's all the competitive games. That's where the Hornets and OTFC and Ottawa Internationals play. There's a couple of exhibition ones, and then there's other higher level ones. So you can see like universities. I think it is listed under their clubs, but it should still show up under there, Justin, because of just the way that the system is designed. I'm still going to check with Tim, the gentleman who manages Ref Center. But thank you. Under clubs, he's right. You can see Gloucester, and you can see some of the other clubs that we are in our district. There's some that I would absolutely recommend you click off. Putting Ottawa TFC is a good one to click off. That's a good question, and I'll answer that after, Teo. Internationals is one of our other neighbors on the other side. I would not recommend you click off any other club that you don't really know, because there's some clubs that you don't want to pick Smith Falls because they're going to, or St. Anthony, because they're just going to put you for a bunch of games right away, and then it gets very hard to referee. Like I said, under tournaments, I click off pretty much all of them. The Gloucester one, boys and Gloucester girls, that's the GIST tournaments. The more you select off, the better. Here's the one where it said day, and you can choose who gets your preference. I put EOSL, but honestly, I don't think it makes a difference which one you put in there. Kickoff and fields, again. So when you get older, or when you are a district referee, here I can just say what fields for all of them. So I can say I will go to any fields in Orleans. It used to say Cumberland, now it's called Orleans. For you guys that are small-sided referees or in your first year, and we'll go look at it one after, you're actually going to see each and every single field there, which it'll show a whole ton of them. And this is where I was talking about preferred, acceptable, not acceptable. So I would prefer Gloucester is automatic. Your home club always gets preferred. But I'm willing to go out to Glengarry. I'm willing to go out to Nepean. But generally, I want to just kind of stay close to home. I'm actually going to change Manotick because it's kind of far. Rockland and Russell, those are close for me. So I'm preferred. I'm going to click submit because I made a change. Every time you make a change, you want to click submit. Divisions. So this is another one that you need to click off. Under Gloucester, you can see when I click Gloucester, it shows every single division that we have. And even when I look at it, these are last year's divisions. They're not representative of this year's divisions. But you go in and you select as many as possible. There's a bunch that are down at the bottom that we don't actually assign referees to. So you'll see like U5, U6, U7. Those just get put in the system because that's the way it's designed, but there's no refs. Fall soccer is the ones that happen in the fall. So it's like after in September and October. When you're looking at all of these other divisions, this is also where you see the EOSL. So this is the Eastern Ontario Soccer League. They just loaded this in, so I would go and I'd say, you know what, you can send me to any of these competitive games. I'm not going to make you guys watch me click off every one of them because it'd take too long, but I'll click off a bunch. And then let's say I also want to make sure that I can do my college games and Ottawa TFC games I'll take. So those ones are still there from last year. Make sure that everything's clicked off, and then you click submit. If you don't click submit, it doesn't get saved. It goes away into space. When I send a game offer, it will show up on your homepage. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to quickly send myself a game offer just to show you what it looks like. I clicked the wrong thing, so I'm going to have to log back out. So I have 5 different Ref Center accounts. So what you guys are going to see now, this is what the sort of the schedule looks like for all the referees and all the games. You can see there's a whole bunch. This is all the Hornets games that we have to cover. And this is all the Gloucester games that we have to cover. Unfortunately, the way they put the schedule in is a little bit broken right now, so I can't assign the games. But I can put something in and you can still see sort of what it looks like. So let's say that I want to do this U15 girls game. It's going to be at Gloucester High School at 6:30 on Wednesday. So when I select it, I can already see that there's nobody available, but that's just because Ref Center hasn't been set up properly. I can override it and say everybody who's in the district, but I'm just going to send to myself. So it takes a second. When it's finally done, I'm going to see every referee that I can see in our district. When it's done reloading, it's going to take a minute apparently. There. So this is all the referees. You can see that I have a pretty big list here. So I'm just going to send this game to me. I'm going to say I'm going to be the referee. I'm not going to put in ARs because I know that I'm just going to decline this game anyways. I click assign. So what happened is I just got an email. My phone's going to buzz in a second. It's going to say, oh, Jason's got a game. So when I go into Jason's account, boop, boop, boop. I actually saw the little email in my corner here. So it says game offer. You have been offered a game. Go to the offer page to accept or decline it. I can also see it's up here on my weekly schedule where it says game offer. And normally there'll be a little whistle here because it's supposed to say ref, but right now the system's broken, so it's not working right. And I would say, yeah, I can take this game. I'm going to click decline because I'm not going to do it because it's broken. But normally you would say, yep, I'm good for this game. And then when you accept it, it then shows up in your schedule. And then you would say, oh, preview. So Sunday, May 28th, I'm the center referee at Millennium Turf for an OPDL game. You can also click on the preview here and it will give you more information. It will tell you the date, it'll tell you the location, it'll tell you who else maybe you're working with, it'll tell you the 2 teams. Sometimes there'll be information, we'll see a map. You can click down here where it'll tell you where to go. And even if you click, it says starting location. So this is my home address, this is where I live. And if I click the starting directions, what it'll do is it'll actually just Google it. And I can go straight to Google Maps and it'll tell me how to get to this field. So it's actually pretty cool. If you don't know where the field is, it'll tell you. And here I have now the Google Maps and it tells me how to get there. Now, I'm going to go back into my admin account and the name was Leo Parsons. So I have the ability to look at everybody's accounts as well because I have magic administrative powers. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to go find Leo Parsons. So this is what his, oh, look at that. So this is what his account looks like. And I can already see that he's gone through and he's already selected a bunch of availability and he's already got a game from OSU, which is really good. In his leagues, Gloucester is blocked out because he's a Gloucester ref, so you have to be in the Gloucester League. And when I go into, oh, see, this is the small-sided accounts look slightly different than the adult leagues. So here I can see that Eastern Ontario Soccer League has been checked off, and Gloucester Club has already been checked off automatically because he's a Gloucester ref. I'm not sure what this second thing for Gloucester is, genuinely. Might be worth clicking off, but this is a question that I have to solve with Ref Center because this looks like a Ref Center problem, not a Leo Parsons problem. I can already go in and see that he's selected a whole bunch of the tournaments, which is awesome. And his divisions are pretty much all filled out, so that's great. Leo Parsons is a small-sided referee, so he can't do the U12 games anyways, and that's just a quirk the way the system shows up, and that's okay. And then when I go to his fields, I can see that when I click Gloucester, you can see when I scroll down, oh, this is fantastic, Leo, I'm impressed. Leo and Suzanne, good job. High fives. Because here they've already selected all of the fields that they're willing to go to. So you see there's a bunch that are preferred and there's a bunch that are acceptable. So that means that when he goes to, see, Corrine Wilson is probably a little bit farther from where Leo lives, so it's a little bit harder to get to. but they're closer to Hornets Nest. So Hornets Nest preferred, Leitrim acceptable, and pick the games that are close to your house. That's totally great. That's awesome. That's fantastic. But as you can see, this list is very long. And even like when we get down to Potvin, here I can see Potvin 5, Potvin 5 Mini North 1, Mini North 2. So Potvin 5 has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh my goodness, there's more this year. Even Potvin Southwest and Northwest, East, Northwest. To click off all of them, it makes it more likely to get games. And if they want to do games in other fields, so let's say you want to do games with Ottawa TFC or Orleans, they changed the name. Here, already done. Pretty acceptable. So Leo might get games from Chris Wade, who's the head referee next door. This is all fantastic. And this is all what your accounts will look like. You can also see the game reports. There's nothing in there. So this might be where if you have a game report that you need to pop in, Leo did a game, has to pop it in, say what the score was. And that's pretty much all that you guys have in RefCenter. As far as some of the other stuff, we talked briefly about game sheets. The game sheets with the Hornets and the game sheets with the Dragons, they do look different, but they do the same thing. You need to make sure that you fill out the score cards for the little kids. So anybody under the age, so the U12, U10, U8, you don't really need to mark down who scored the goals. For the Hornets, it's good practice just to get in the habit of it. You know who scored the goals because whenever somebody scores a goal, you write down their number. If you're doing the Dragons games, they might not have the numbers, but that's okay. You don't need to put the goal scores in. It's mostly for the competitive games when you get them. And I'm just going to scroll back under where it says some of the other questions. So here, Teo asked, if you want to ref intramural soccer at university, which league would it be under? So there's sanctioned soccer. So that's soccer that exists under the district and Ontario soccer. So that means that it's controlled and there's all these rules and stuff put together. And we operate under guiding bodies. So we have people that tell us how and stuff we run. Those are the games that are assigned through RefCenter. And those are the games that we're all supposed to do and you take the course to do. There's also other leagues that work within the city that aren't sanctioned. So there's a company named Ottawa Footy Sevens. Or it could be like intramural soccer at Carleton or Algonquin. Some of the high schools have soccer leagues that they just do internally. If you want to ref with them, you have to talk to them. They don't exist in RefCenter. So they don't exist under Ontario soccer. They're not part of the district. They're totally independent and separated. So if you want to referee university intramural soccer, your best bet is to go talk to somebody who's there on the field and reach out to them. If you're an adult and you want to referee some of the adult leagues, which is what Ottawa Footy Sevens is called, send me an email. I happen to know the guy who works there and assigns all the game because it's me. But don't worry about that for now. That's totally separate. And the same thing, if you want to reach out to any of the clubs, I recommend, especially for your first years, you should be refereeing the sanctioned soccer, so which is like the district or clubs soccer, just because it's a much better environment. The coaches are better, the parents are better. There's a lot more rules. There's a lot more controls. You're in a much better and safer space to learn. If you were to go referee intramural soccer, they might not even know the rules. The people who run the leagues don't know the rules. I know this because I've worked with them. But it's always a good practice just to get used to working with the clubs first. Zachary, who is responsible to record the players' numbers who score the goals during the games? That's part of the referee's job, actually. So for the Dragons and House League and for the little games, don't worry about it too much. But the games that you do, you should start getting in the habit of whenever somebody scores a goal, you should write down who scored it. So I have on my little game cards, I have like a home side and an away side. Whenever a home team scores a goal, I write down their numbers and I put a little circle around it so I know that number 12 scored a goal. And then by the end of the game, I will count up how many goals for each team, and that's the score. If I have to show a yellow card or a red card, I also get their number. And that's why we have the game sheets. So we can see, well, number 12, I look up number 12 on my Hornets game sheet, and I say there's a little column for goals. I say, well, number 12, he scored 2 goals. So I'll put a little 2 beside number 12. And then I'll add up all the goals, and that's the score. These are things that you'll get used to over time. I don't want you to stress out too much about it for the Dragons games. It's really just the score is what's important. Now, I can see that somebody has a hand up, and I need to click on this window to find out who it is. Michelle, you have a question, so you can unmute your mic or you can put it in the chat whenever you want. But whatever your question is, I'm happy to answer it.
I just got assigned a game with EOSL for my first game, and it says it's competitive. Is that okay for my first game?
Yes. So I sent you that game, and I'm glad that you asked. You can do competitive games. That's allowed. For your first game, I'm actually going to try to have a mentor out there for you. But
Hmm.
it's okay to start with competitive, because I also know, and I was at the clinics, and I took a little idea of who did well and who's okay. But if we don't have Dragons games for you to go out, then doing a competitive game is okay. It's also like, I think that was a U10 or U11 game. It wasn't like a U14 regional
Yeah.
game. So it's still
Yeah.
a small sided game. So that's okay. And that's actually a good point while we're here. If you took the entry level course, you might still get U10 or U9 games, and that's okay. The rules are a little bit different because it's 7v7, and you guys didn't talk about that in
Yeah.
your clinics. I will send out just a quick email on what the differences are. If you are an entry level referee doing a small sided game, there's actually an Ontario Soccer website page that outlines the difference. Mostly it's just retreat line and everything's indirect, but I'll send you a link for that as well. So for
Okay.
some of you, your first game might actually be a Hornets game, and that's okay. I'm hoping to get mentors out for a lot of your games. We have a lovely young woman named Cassandra who's going to be doing a ton of mentoring in because she hurt her hip and can't ref. And some of the other senior referees, once you've been refereeing for a couple of years, not that I think that the only person in this call might be somebody like Drew, who I saw pop in, or Justin. Justin's been a referee for years, and he's actually quite a good referee. I might be asking some of you guys if you want to coach. So when you show up, I know your first game is big and scary. Have somebody there just kind of walk you through the steps, answer any of your questions. Just be there as a resource. Talk to some of the coaches while you're there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I would get paid by the Hornets, right?
Yes.
Like by
So
merit.
So for a Hornets games, again, when it gets closer to payday, to the payroll, I'll send another email just to communicate to you guys what to expect and if I need anything from you. But for the Hornets games, I send them. So like for all of May and June, I send them the payroll information on like the last day of the month or the first day of July. It takes them a little bit to send it off to their accountant, and then they got to do everything on their end, and then they'll just mail it to you. The Hornets takes a little bit longer. It takes about 3 weeks. I'm hoping to get that to go faster this year. The Dragons is much quicker. So usually, if you all the games in June, the checks are usually ready to pick up within a week, maybe 2.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. The only other thing that I wanted to talk about quickly, guys, that I mentioned at the start of the call was the retreat line. This is always one of the biggest pieces of feedback that I get from the coaches, because some of your clinics talk about the retreat line, some of the clinics don't. Some of you guys have no idea what I'm talking about right now. The retreat line is what we ask players to back up behind. Any of you that played with the Dragons or you played in some of the smaller leagues, you absolutely know what I'm talking about. And whenever there's a goal kick or the goalkeeper has the ball in their hands, we want to back all of the attacking players up. We do this so that the defending team has a chance to play it a little bit, and they can practice passing the ball and then moving up and attacking instead of just having to deal with constant pressure from the get-go. The retreat line on all of the Dragons games is 1/3 of the field. What this means is that I want you guys to physically, some of the coaches will mark it off with cones or pylons. I want you guys to go and physically stand on the field, and this is the way that I've done it for years, and what I recommend is I will go stand at 1/3 of the field away from the net. So it's usually about the bottom of where the center circle is. So there's always a center circle in all the fields. So it's close to the bottom of there, and I will stand there with my arms out, and I'll say, retreat line, guys, back up on the retreat line. And I make sure that all of the attacking players are behind me. If anybody's in front of the retreat line, I let the team wait, and I make sure that everybody's backed up behind me. The players are not allowed to cross the retreat line until the second player has possession. So let's say it's a goal kick and the goalie passes it to another player. They're not allowed to attack and put pressure on until that second player has the ball. Because if you wait until they kick it, sometimes the kid's really fast and just all of a sudden there's 3 kids on them and then they never get a chance to play the ball out. I'm going to send an email about that specifically with just a little bit of pictures and showing you what it looks like and maybe some resources from Ontario Soccer. But this is the one thing that I really want you guys to think about when you're refereeing your games. Aside from all the things we need to think about, there's tons of things to think about. But get into the habit of making sure whenever it's a goal kick or the goalie has the ball in his hands that you back them up behind the retreat line. You'll also hear coaches talking about it. And if they go too fast, so let's say you back them all up behind the retreat line, and you say, okay, goalkeeper, go ahead. And he kicks the ball, and all of a sudden they run. Blow your whistle. That's a foul. They're not allowed to do that. So all you have to do is blow your whistle and say, take it again. So the goalkeeper takes the goal kick again. You back everybody up. Generally, after 1 or 2 times, they catch on and they learn. And the coaches have also clued in. They'll start yelling at their players. The better we do this at the start of the year, the better we coach and train all of the players, and then it doesn't bother them the rest of the year. If some of people are forgetting and they're letting it happen, then the coaches and the players get the next game when they have a referee that enforces it. And then the coaches and players are confused, like, well, we didn't know we had to do this. So the more that we put the rules together at the start of the year, all together at the same, the better it is for everybody. Does anybody else have any questions? I have a bad habit of I'm a big talker. I'm a big personality, and I can sit here and just talk about ref stuff forever. And nobody here wants that. Everybody wants to go outside and have barbecues with their family, and, you know, for you kids, go out and kick the ball around in the parks and stuff. Does anybody have any other questions? So there's quite a long list. Yes. Suzanne, that's a great question. A lot of clubs, and myself included, sometimes when we can't find a referee for games, there's this on Ref Center, there's something that says available games, and that's the self-assignment by referees. So I might say, look, I'm stuck. I can't find a referee to do my game. I'll then click a box that says I put it on available games. And I think that I can see it on here. I'm going to talk while I do it. If it is an acceptable level for you, you can go ahead and take the game because it's just for pickup. Yeah, there's a huge list already. And these are all our games. And I don't know how that happened. Okay, well, that's a new one. I'm going to go look into why that's there.
Jason, sorry,
yes.
it's Suzanne.
Yeah.
The issue is I don't see any of these games on Leo's page, so that's why I was curious about the league, because none of the Gloucester ones are listed as being open. So I'm just wondering if we've clicked everything off that we should have.
You've clicked everything off that you should have, Suzanne. You guys have done everything right. This is what I was saying. We've run into a few problems. We changed the way that the Gloucester Dragons, we've changed our tech support stuff. So we have to use Ref Center for our referees, which is on something called E2E, but we're using something called Sports Engine for everything else. They don't talk. And when we did this, it just created a problem. So I can't assign any games right now. And that's probably what's causing the problem. So if some of you are poking around and trying to find some of these divisions and stuff and you can't see it, that's probably why. The instant I get this sorted out, I'm going to send an email out to everybody again and say, guys, I think we've got it. Go in and check your Ref Center accounts and make sure that your divisions and stuff are updated, because I want to start assigning the games right away. But as of today, there's still a bunch of just quirks and hiccups that we're trying to sort out. This is an E2E and a Ref Center problem. It is not you guys. You guys are doing everything proper as best I can tell. But yes,
Great,
on the available, no problem. On the available games, I'll log into my account because I'm guaranteed to find some, and you guys will see them as well. So I can just plop a game into available, and then they're available for self-assignment. So under your first tab, you scroll down, you see available games. Yeah, there's a ton of games. Most of them are going to be sort of in the places that are a little bit further out. West Ottawa has a huge house league, and they go all the way to like Carlton Place and stuff. Sometimes OSU might pop a game on there. They say, look, I have a game at a field that I can't find a referee for, and they'll send an email out. Whenever I put games on available, I click them on there. And these games, anybody can pick these games up, but we have no control of them. So if you want to say, look, on Tuesday, here's an EOSL game that's at Leitrim, Field 5. So that's sort of my field, sort of West Ottawa's field. We share them. And here you click it, it'll tell you where it is. Right now there's one referee and only one AR, but they're trying to find another assistant referee. If you want to take it, you can. You're more than available. I'm never going to stop you guys from getting more games. I want you guys to get more games. I want you guys to get more games with me first, though, because I'm selfish, and I want you guys to get a better experience, and it will be better than OSU, I can guarantee it. But you can go and grab any game off there you want. Sometimes getting paid for them is a little bit of a pain, because you have to say, hey, West Ottawa, I did this game, I haven't been paid. I can help you follow up, but you're dealing with them at that point. All you have to do, though, to take this game is you go click accept on the far right-hand side. Once you click accept, though, if you can't do the game anymore, you're going to have to reach out to that club to say, I can't take the game. I can't help you anymore because it's a different club. I don't have access. You can already see, though, that a ton of leagues, like some of this is when I said we're having problems filling games. because the system isn't configured. People haven't showed all their availability. There's not usually this many. I've honestly never seen this many. There's a ton. But yeah, you can grab any of these games. If you're an assistant rec, a good question. No, the center referee is the one who's in charge of the game sheet. So if you are doing a game where there's a ref and 2 ARs, the referee is in charge of the game sheet and all the paperwork. For an AR, you just have to show up, you wag your flag, you call your offsides, you go home. There's no game report, there's no nothing. Will I be able to? Yes. So when I have everything sort of updated and I'm hoping that the system is happy and our schedule is in there, I'm going to send out another email that says everything should be good. Please log into your F Center accounts so you can put the games in so I can assign the games. Aside from that, unless there's any other questions, I'm happy to see so many people in here. So many people showed up to this meeting. It's always a hard sell on a long weekend to get people and to get this information out, but it is really important. It helps me schedule the games and it helps you guys get the games. This will be, like I said, this was recorded. I'm going to pop this onto the website later so that you guys can see my pretty face and listen to me talk some more. So yeah. Oh, here's some more questions. Excellent. So if you're an AR, do you depend on the center ref to submit the game sheet to get paid? Yes. That's another sort of tricky question. Generally, it's very rare that we don't put the game reports in. Usually somebody forgets and then somebody will sort of send them an email and get it in. We just need the game report for the ARs to get paid, but I can't imagine, I've never not paid an assistant referee for something that the referee messed up. Sometimes we might hang something over the referee and be like, do your job, but the AR's always going to be good. Michelle, for where you can access the recording of this, all of the information for everything Dragons is going to end up on this Dragon Soccer referee page. So over this week, I'm going to try to get this loaded or a link on this page to this recording. I'm also going to be trying to build like a smaller FAQ document, and where it says the referee handbook coming soon, I'll try and get that, me and Curry to get that done on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, because she's off tomorrow. So everything should be on there. This is your first point of resource for any questions. Even for the Hornet stuff, I recommend going there first because the Hornets page only has a little bit of information. We also have a bunch of links down on the bottom to the EODSA, so our district. I have a link to the FIFA laws of the game. I have a link to the Ontario Soccer website. I also have something called Ask the Referee, which is a cool resource where they just kind of ask random questions. They might show game film and they say, hey, this happened in a game. What do you think it should be? And then the next day they give you the answer. It's fun to kind of pick your brain, and the more you get into it, the more you learn about the game, the more you get sucked into it. I'm a much better referee than I ever was a player, and it's a different way to enjoy the game. And over the course of the year, I might add some other little odds and ends on there. I might add some Twitter stuff on there, so some cool links and tips and tricks and stuff like that. But this should always be your first stop. Now, we're now a little more than 10 minutes over where I wanted to go. If there's no other questions, I'm happy that you guys all showed up, and I'll stick around just until everybody closes out. But yeah, thank you guys for showing up. I appreciate it. Thank you for the handful of questions. I love seeing some engagement. We'll see you around.